If you enjoy listening to inspirational stories from people just like us, facing the fear and doing it anyway, then you're in the right place. My name is Claire Hill, and this is the No Rest for the Vivid podcast. Hello, welcome to an amazing episode of the No Rest for the Vivid podcast. I have interviewed the amazing Bethany Taylor today, and Bethany is she's one of those people. Obviously I've not met her in real life. She's over the other side of the world in Bali, as you do, and I was just really drawn to her and you can just see her values and how she sees the world is so evident in all of her social media, her messaging, everything. And I had been following her for a little while, and I thought, I really want to have a good chat to her. I did have a lovely chat with her on the podcast, which is following, all about human design. And then I did book a call with her, and she did a full human design detailed reading and told me lots of things about myself that I already know, but it was really nice to hear someone else say it and how I can help my businesses with those elements. It was so good. I'm going to put all of her links in the show notes just so that you can get in touch with her if you want a similar reading. But you're going to love this episode. Honestly, she's such a babe and really, really inspiring. Really, really inspiring. So enjoy. If you like this episode, please share and subscribe. Have an amazing week. Hey, Bethany.
Hi, how are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm brilliant, thank you.
Good. Thanks so much for coming on. For those people that don't know who you are, what's your name, where'd you come from, and what do you do?
So Bethany, or B, as we just said. I'm actually from England originally, so Manchester in England, but I've been living in Asia for the past 5 years. So I was in Vietnam. Now I'm in Bali for the past 2 years. So my journey's pretty much been a big whirlwind of different entrepreneurial kind of approaches. And I went from network marketing basically into coaching, then into human design. So now I'm a human design expert, but also general. I call it like an all things coach. I don't like that niche vibe of like, what do you like? I'm a business coach. I'm a human design coach. I'm a life coach. Like, what do you need? And I'll tell you if I can do it vibe.
Yeah.
So I help people with a range of things. I have like new mums, I have people new to business, I have people just on the start of their human design journey, but I do put human design as the forefront because my intention is to bridge the mind and body so that we come back to who we are as unique beings, so that we can find what's for us rather than trying to like put ourselves in the boxes that we think we should be in. So it's really about, deconditioning who we think we should be and coming back to who we came here to be.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
God, that was so articulate. You just smashed it then. I love it. So how did you get into the whole, like you said, network marketing first and then into coaching? Can you remember like how you fell into it?
Yeah, well, I was a kindergarten teacher. So in Vietnam, I was a kindergarten teacher. I built my way up to that. Like I started with this like random family and I was like, I'm just going to be a teacher because it's what pays. So I was a kindergarten teacher and I remember having this line in the sand moment. Now I love kids, but 25 3-year-olds, every single day for 8 hours, it's a lot. So I remember just like snapping one day and being like, this isn't what I should be doing with my life. Like, this is not actually what I want to be doing. I want to be helping people, but like, this ain't it. So I just kind of I wasn't even really into like manifestation or anything like that. And I just put out the feelers of, I want more. And it dropped in, like I just kept seeing this network marketing brand. I don't know if you've heard of Enagic and Kangen water, but like I ended up in this brand and it was like this community and I invested like £7,000 and I was just like, I don't know, like I just need a way, but I'm really grateful because it helped me to gain the confidence. It helped me build my own brand. And then I started to realize that it wasn't really about the selling. When I was mentoring my team, they were coming to me for like personal development stuff and I was enjoying speaking about personal development. So I was like, well, why don't I help more people? So I hired a mentor, worked with her, launched my first program. Then I ended up having a motorbike accident and I couldn't work for like 9 months.
Oh, that's a little bit of a kicker in the old.
A little bit. Broke my jaw in 2 places.
Oh shit! Really? Oh my god!
Headbutted the floor.
Shit! It must have taken you ages to recover from that.
Yeah, because I kept having setbacks. So it was meant to be like a 6-week progress, which I don't know how I even believed that. They were like, we've wired your jaw shut, it's going to be 6 weeks. Like, come on. Of course it's not, you know? But I was hell-bent on getting back to work. So I was like, I'll be back in 6 weeks, I'll be fine. And then it was like another surgery, infection, another surgery. And it took about I'm still healing, definitely. But the physical piece took about 9 months because then it was like my gut was messed up. You know, there was so many shifts, identity shifts. And so it took a while, and it was like right at the start of my second business. So I was like, oh no. So I had to start basically again from this year. January was when I kind of, because I burnt everything pretty much to the ground as well, because I was like, I have a whole new identity. I can't do the same things as I was doing before. Yeah. So I just started again. But that's how human design came in as well, because I leveraged that a lot through my healing. And that's what enabled me to kind of like stay grounded through it all.
Wow. So was that in Vietnam, your accident?
Bali.
Oh,
yeah,
Bali,
it was last February.
Oh, I had a bike accident in Vietnam, and I like smashed my I didn't break it, thankfully, but I sort of like hopped. That's another story for another day, how I got into that accident anyway. But
Vietnam's mental though. The doctors were like, how have you crashed in Bali when you lived in Vietnam for 3 years? Like, how is that worse there? I was like, I don't know.
If anyone's listening and not been to Vietnam, when you get there, like everybody's on a bike, and when you have to cross the road, you just have to walk. They don't stop for you. You just have to walk, and the bikes go round you. I remember my first time, I was like, I'm gonna shit myself. No, it was okay. But yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? So you had so for those people who don't know what human design is, my assistant, I was running through and telling her about you, because I had your free design thing, which I'll link in the you're still doing them, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll link them in the show notes. And I was like, I'm a projector. And she was like, what the hell does that mean? I was like, okay, let's do you. And I think she's like a manifesting generator or something like that. So I was like, this is what it is. It's about energy. And, she's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I could not articulate because I was like, actually, I just know what I'm a projector. That's basically it, and I have to wait to be invited. That's basically all I really know, apart from what you told me in your report. But for all the novices, what is human design?
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful actually that you have a Man-Gen assistant, because projectors are also here to pretty much like navigate and have the ideas, but then to give the work to other people. Like, you're supposed to just download and guide and like, okay, that needs doing and that needs doing, whereas the generators and the Man-Gens are like the worker bees, so we can actually hold so much. So human design is basically, it's a mixture of different sciences, so traditional and modern science, and it basically blends together. So a lot of people are familiar with astrology and the chakra system as like a general thing. It blends these kind of things in, but it focuses more on energetics. So it really shows you, like, in very simplistic terms, imagine that each of us is, a soul in a vehicle, and the vehicle is our body. Now, this vehicle is like an electrical circuit, and sometimes we experience blocks in our circuit. Each of our circuits work differently. We're all different models. So even like an iPhone, when your iPhone breaks or you get water in it, it's going to glitch, it short circuits. So you have to fix that break. Now, humans are the same, but we're all conditioned from school to navigate on the same circuit. So that circuit for a lot of people is, go get this job, do this at that age, do this, when we're all different types of vehicle and energy and fuel, right? So human design is like, I'm a Man-Gen, you're a projector. Now that's just the basic type, right? There's so much more.
Yeah.
But it's a massive rabbit hole, it really is. But basically it shows you how your vehicle operates, how to drive it in the world around you, and also like what fuel to put in it. right? So it's basically how our energy works. And like I said before, it really shows us to kind of release who we think we should be, because it really focuses on the mental pressure part of we're not actually meant to make decisions in our body. We're in our head, we're supposed to be navigating from our body. So then once we eliminate the who we think we should be, human design shows us the pathway to reconnect with who we came here to be, which is, projectors are guides. You're supposed to be the one navigating your process, sharing with other people what that process does for you, how it's, expanded your life. And then they come in and they go, hey, can I learn more from you? Because this looks really interesting, rather than you going out, because guides don't do that. I always refer like guides to Gandalf. Like Gandalf doesn't go and push, People are like coming to him. He just appears in the right place, shares, and then poof, he's gone again. He doesn't do anything. That's the projector, So it's like, it really shows you these skills that you can navigate. And especially in business, like we're all following these different strategies, when actually you might be following a projector strategy, but you're a generator. So of course it's not working. It's like the vehicle.
Yeah. God, it's fascinating. And it's so, I think when I first came across it, somebody said to me, oh, there's not many projectors around. And I was like, the only thing that I don't get with projectors is it says that you run out of energy, but I don't feel like I ever run out of energy. That's the only thing. But other than that, yeah, it's pretty to the T. In my membership, I'm going to be like Gandalf now. Just come in and be like, here's your wisdom. Off I go. But yeah, no, it's fascinating stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, with the energy part, so projectors are 20% of the population. So yeah, you are in the light minority. But what it is with the energy is you look into your centers. So you may be a projector, but you may have a lot of like gates and centers. And I mean, this is again more like kind of diving deeper. But you go out and you're a non-energy type. So you go out and your vehicle charges through the external world. Now, this can be nature, this can be people, this could be your children, this could be everything. So you charge from other people and you get your energy. So it may be that you're around the right people that give you that energy, right? And then for me, I'm an energy type. So I'm giving energy because I've got this battery pack that pretty much just blares out energy all the time. So this is also this common misconception of, when we look on the surface of human design and there's all these definitions of you're this, so it means this, we attach to that sometimes when actually there's more depth to it. Yeah, you can be a projector and still have a shit ton of energy. You can be a man gen and want to nap all the time. It really depends on, again, your vehicle.
Yeah, I love that. So how did you say you've got your motorbike accident, and then you sort of like, so did human design, like what happened? How did you get into it?
It literally saved my life. It's crazy. So I found it 4 years ago on a guest speaking call for my first business, the network marketing. I remember just being like, whoa, but like a lot of people, this is a lot. Yeah. I don't have time for it. It's not a priority. I didn't prioritize it. And looking back, like, oh my God, but I just wasn't ready. So then when I was in the hospital, obviously I was trying to learn or whatever, and it popped back up again. So I looked into my chart, and that was when I got drew into the centers piece, where I'm conditioned. So we have different centers, and it shows us where we can be conditioned by the external world and where we can condition and influence the world around us too. And there's one center called the spleen, and it's the well-being, intuition, primal center. And mine is open, which means that the world is conditioning me through that center, and I've got to be aware of it. I was going into the hospital every single day, and I was doing all the things. I was like Joe Dispenza, eating healthy, everything to avoid, getting an infection or whatever. And everything that could have happened wrong happened. And I was like, why? My mindset is strong. Like, how is this happening? So I looked into the spleen, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm going into the hospital every single day, and they're telling me these things. They're asserting to me, and I'm just letting them tell me that that's my narrative. Right. And I realized it was through that conditioning. So then I basically turned it around, and I was like, I'm going in and I'm telling them they've got to do another test. I don't care if it comes back negative. I want them to find a way. And I basically laid the law down, and they found the source of my infection. and like got the medication the next day, healed my infection the next day, because it was like really close to my brain. So they were really worried.
Whoa, wow,
So
babe.
I was like, okay, well, that works, you know. So then I just went all the way in, and I was like, okay, I need to share this with people, because it's just life changing. And I realized a lot of people just know it, but they don't live it, right? And there's a real difference between knowing it and living it.
And what do you think holds people back from living it?
Honestly, I just think like they tap into the information like I did, and there's so much that they go, it's not a priority. Because again, like, it depends if you're drawn to it, but this is what I did. I bought a blueprint, which is something I offer, but it's an ebook, right? So you're not really getting you're reading it. And if you're just reading it and you're not applying it, then it's staying here, right? It's staying at a logical level. Now, if we're going to learn anything, we need to do it. So then I realized that because I hadn't had the reading for 3 years, I couldn't understand how to integrate it. Nobody was applying it. And then I started to apply it to my life. Like, okay, well, what does wait to respond really mean? Okay, let me try it in this circumstance. Let me try it in this. And my profile is the investigator. So I was literally investigating how it worked, noting the results so that I could teach other people in the same way, because it's overwhelming. It really is. It's a lot to look at. It's like a mathematical equation when you pull up your chart. Like, this is like algebra. Like, where do I even start?
Yeah. And so so it's all based on, I mean, anyone can Google and find out their type, can't they?
Yeah.
And it uses like the time you were born, the place you were born. That's basically it, isn't it? Like when and where
Time,
you were born.
location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so fascinating. Like, I suppose this is probably a really in-depth question to ask, but how did they know? Who knows? Where is it that they say, oh, because you were born in, like for me, Gravesend, Kent, on this day, that means that you're a projector? Like, how does that work?
It's similar in regard to astrology. So the way
Right.
that I don't know how astrology is generated, but they mix together astrology, they mix together the planetary system. So the numbers on either side of your chart that you see, they're actually planets. So it does merge a lot of the astrology stuff, like the life chart. So if you actually look at a human design chart that's the quantum chart, you'll actually see that it's like an astrology
Right.
graph.
Yeah.
It's all the lines, and like it's mental, and that's why they've made it into more. So they mix a lot of these things, and they mix something called the I Ching as well, which is the Chinese book of changes, which is traditional Chinese kind of approaches to healing. So they use Chinese medicine, they use the I Ching. So it mixes that too. So it's basically the same way astrology is generated through all the planets and all, like, and they base it heavily on the science of energy too.
Oh, love it. Okay, because that was really, I was like, how do they know?
Like,
Who's they anyway? Who's they? Just somebody floating about, just decided. And so for the people, the listening, like people listening to the podcast, there's a lot of business owners that listen. How can human design support you in building your business? Which is obviously, that's quite a general question, so I'll make it a little bit more specific. Like, at this point of the year, we're filming this at the beginning of October, no, September, running a year away, and it's this kind of time. Like, I always find the beginning of September to have a burst of energy, and I think that's probably because we're programmed by school, because you have the summer and then you just run into September. But a lot of people, and especially people in my membership, are feeling a little bit stuck, a little bit lost, like they're really scared because the media and blah blah blah. Obviously there's facts there, but that all of those things. How can human design help you to become unstuck when you're feeling like that?
I love how you said, like they're scared because of the media. So I'll lead into it from there, because this is also the power of human design. So obviously I actually have a free introductory workshop that runs through the intro basics. So it's great for someone to start where they're like, I want to know, or even get a feel of how I describe things for if they want to dive deeper, But really with the fear thing. So we look at our society and we've got the news, we've got this, we've got, oh, they're doing better than me. Like, I'm a new coach, like they're doing better than me. Like, how am I ever going to get there? Oh, I'm feeling a lack of energy. So how am I going to make money? And then we just end up in the spiral, right? But what's happening conditioning and what human design shows us through the centers, which are the colored shapes in your chart, is where you're conditioned. So each center has a theme. So the head center, which is, I think about 50% of people have an open head, which is conditioning, right?
Right.
Doubt, confusion, questions, inspiration. So if we have an open head and we're going out into the world and we're reading the news and we're then, I mean, COVID's a huge example. Now, I'm not against or for, but look how easy it was for everybody to just follow what was being said, right? And this is the open head. This is the, okay, if there's a question, I'll ask myself the question, I'm taking it in as mine. So in business, it's beautiful to know where you're open, because you're able to do a kind of overview and be like, okay, I'm open in my head. Are these questions even mine? Are these doubts even mine? Or is it Susan's, whose profile I've just spent 30 minutes stalking, who's been in business 6 years, and now I'm like conditioned by her words? Like, no. So let that go, right? So, and then also, like I always say, and this is why I do class myself as a business coach, because I help a lot of people with their business, but I will, first thing I do in my mentorship is I will run you through your design, because I find that your business strategy pretty much aligns with your human design strategy. Because if you're marketing as a projector, you're not going to initiate into people's DMs and things like that, because you're waiting for people to see you, recognize you, say to you, and then you're responding because you feel seen and you're going to feel successful in that sense, right? The only type that actually should go out and cold DM is a manifestor, 9% of the population. So can you imagine how confused so many business owners are when we're all told in marketing to cold DM?
Yeah. Do you know, it's always felt so
horrible.
So horrible, dude. I've never really, like, if I've engaged with them in messages, then when you're at that point where you're like, but what if they miss out? I always think that I'll message them. But other than that, like, I've never, it just makes me feel rank. Just doesn't sit right. But when I remember when I did, I don't know if you remember, but when I did your free report thing, you said to me about my sacral something or other, and you feel stuff in your gut. You said something like that, and I was like, that is exactly what happens. Like, I will be thinking something and I'll be like, oh, and I can feel it in my gut, whether or not that's what I need to do or where I need to go that way. And I remember, and actually it goes back to traveling. I used to, when you go traveling, you like meet random weirdos, and me and my mate, I was like, Lou, don't go near him. There's something, like, I just don't feel good. And this bloke ended up being a really nasty person. It's sort of like, so I've listened to it for ages and ages. But it's really interesting that you say about, like, where you're open, because I'm going to have to look back now, and I know I'm going to book in with you for any more in-depth one. But when I remember when there was something going on with China, and my husband was like, China, this is ages ago. It's like 7 years ago. So he was like, China is going to nuke us all or something. I was like, that is the craziest thing you have ever said. And I remember walking out thinking, who the hell is this man? I'm sorry, babe, if you're listening, I'm sorry. You know the situation I'm talking about. I was like, he's just listening to the news. I just don't, if there's something I need to know, then my husband or my father-in-law or my mother-in-law, they'll tell me. Other than that, they literally tell me the weather as well. I don't even look at what the weather is. I look at the sky. That's how I look at the weather. I don't look at the anything, because I feel like it disrupts how I feel about things, when really this is, I'm in it for the infinite game. Like, I'm not in this to, mess about. I always say I'm not here to fuck spiders, and I'm sorry if nobody likes that phrase, but that is what I say. So I'm not going to be bothered. Yeah, but I'm not going to be bothered about, like, what's going on with this, because there's more to it. And I know that's like a big statement, and that takes a lot of courage to really believe in that. But you're right with how people, I remember the beginning of the whole COVID situation, people being made redundant. I mean, in the UK, it was dire. And then you see so many people, actually, it transformed their life being in lockdown like that. I could only see, and it was a terrible time. I'm not taking that away from people that have lost people. And, I've got people that were working in the hospitals. It was dreadful. But for me and my family, it was a really magical time. Like, and I think it's how you interpret it. But I suppose that goes back to how I always flip any negative situation. I can always find, apart from there's a negative situation at the minute, I can't really find the good thing. But most of the time you can flip stuff, can't you? But is that to do with, like, does human design sort of help you, or influence, that's the word I'm looking for, influence how you see the world and how you can interpret energy in that way?
Absolutely, yeah. Like I always explain the centers and like how, so basically, rundown of the chart, we have our type, and then if you're looking at the chart, the colored ones are the centers. Now, type is extremely important. Strategy and authority is where you start, and then you go into centers, which are your conditioning. But this is basically how you're going to navigate the world around you in regard to what you're taking in, right? So it really can help to be aware of that. Because if then, sorry, can you repeat your question again? I had like a brain lapse.
Do you know what? I don't even know. No, it was, how does it this is a thing. We were starting, it was like, how are we going to talk about? It's like, oh, we'll just go on the fly. And then it's like, oh yeah, shit, we forget what we're actually saying. So no, I think I said, how does human design influence how you interpret energy around you? I think that's what I meant.
Like,
yeah.
Energy, because I'm talking about centers. Yeah. So basically, this, if you're very aware of your centers and their themes. So again, like the head center, for example, we've got doubt, inspiration, confusion, questions. Then the ajna is like thoughts, conceptualization, the way that we think, right? Then we've got expression. Then we've got identity, direction, love. Then we've got intuition. Then we've got emotion. So then if you're aware of that, you can see what's yours, what's not. And also where, as a coach or a business owner, if you have clients or you have even kids, you can really be aware of not coming on too strongly with your definition, where it's like, okay, well, I've got a fixed head, so probably quite prone to having my own opinion. So instead of being that person that forces it upon people, I'm doing it in a way that's empowering. I'm asking empowered questions rather than triggering the fuck out of everybody. Okay, I'm opening my emotional center. I'm now aware that 50% of people have defined emotional centers. So they're just splurging their emotions everywhere. And I'm going to absorb those. So let me just check in. Are these even my emotions? Is this my mood? Or is it my partner's? Is it my kids? Is it my friends? So then you can start to, that's not mine. That's not mine. God. And it's so much easier to just let it go when you realize it's not yours, because the ego loves to decipher whether it's like, oh, that's not mine. Bye.
That's really empowering, actually, because you think about, if you're listening to this and you're in the workplace, or and you've got people around you that are quite neggy and bring you down, you can really just then focus and be like, yeah, is that really how I see things? No, I'm just going to ignore it. And
like coming home from work and you're like, oh, like this and this and this, and then it's like, wait a minute, I didn't have that worry when I went to work. Why am I worrying now? Oh, because she got made redundant today. So now I'm worried about my future when she doesn't even have the same job role as me. Why am I so worried?
Yeah. I always find that when I'm really tired, if I've worked late and then I go upstairs, go to bed, and then my thoughts start going, you're not going to be able to do this, and like they get really loud, then I just go, shut up, you're tired, go to bed. And then I wake up and I wake up and I can't even remember what I've been thinking of. But it's that awareness, isn't it, that we can be like, I suppose when you're tired as well, you're not able to keep your boundaries as well as with what's going on around you. And that's why, like, if anybody's, this is my opinion, but going on Instagram or social media or anything, when you're tired at the end of the day, your comparisonitis is going to be full on. And you are going to so call that up, especially if what you were talking about. And then you're going to feel like utter shit and go to bed feeling like that. I always try now to like go to bed like I thank myself for stuff. Like I'm really grateful to myself that I got up at 5:30 this morning for this podcast interview. It's so worth it. I thank me for showing up for myself, that kind of thing. But when you're talking about like that energy. I always talk about in my membership about you can transform from a worrier to a warrior, and I really believe you can. If you're worrying about something, that's still energy there that you can, like, through reframing and just sitting down, having some space, transform that into energy that can really boost your business. And one of my one-to-one clients last week, she came to me, she'd really worked herself up, really anxious. She was like, I haven't eaten, I feel really sick, like I just am so worried about the business. And I was like, yes, brilliant. She was like, oh, I don't get it. I was like, no, but you've got all this energy, we're going to work the whole session, we're going to work on transforming it. And by the end of it, she was like, I am buzzing, I'm so excited, this new idea we put all into place. And I was like, well, the energy was exactly the same, it's just how you're aware of it. So depending on what type you are with human design, is it easier for some types to be able to transform and reframe, or is it just the element of self-awareness? Well, I'm this type and this is how I'm going to interpret it, and then going forward like that?
Well, like you said with awareness, like it does start with awareness. And I do say that you do need some form of awareness over your mind if you're going to dip into human design anyway, because it's literally registered as like an experiment. It's not just something that you know. And I mean, life is like this. It's not just something you know and then overnight you've changed your life. It's applied knowledge. And this is where the having it here is great, but it's the integration knowledge that actually starts to trigger, oh, wow, this actually helps. So when you're aware of what type you are, you're able to really then know, again, it's the conditioning. So if you're worried about your business and you're making yourself sick and all these things, well, what is that worry? Where is that worry coming from? What theme is that worry carrying? Is it identity? Do you know who you are, or do you not know who you are, and that's what's causing the worry? Is it emotion? Is it willpower? Is it a self-worth thing? Or is it that you've spent so much time on social media comparing yourself that now you don't know what's going on? So again, we're tapping into those different elements of our design, and then seeing also like the gates, which is another thing that I dive into in readings, all of these themes of like, oh, okay, well, I have this channel and I have this gate, so I am prone to having more of this like doubt or worry. Let me not like punish myself for it, but understand it, give it compassion. But also, when we know where we're conditioned, it's our greatest source of wisdom, because then we can actually be open to the influence without letting it weigh us down. But we can start tuning into, okay, well, my identity's open. How can I tap into being a chameleon of all these different ones and build my own? Or I'm not supposed to know my next step. So also, like, let me just release that completely now. Like my partner, he's got an open G, which is direction. And he will change his mind quite frequently over like his course of action. And when I found out his design, I was like, babe, you're not supposed to know your next step. You're supposed to stay open to your next step, and it will literally appear. And like the other day, he's just starting a business as a PT, and he was like, oh, I don't know whether I want to do it in England or Bali. And my friend sent me a profile of this fitness guy who offered like a service of like an investor or something. So I was like, go on his page. He clicks this one post that's like PT course, blah, blah, blah. He's doing the course. The guy's offering him a potential work spot when he's done. Next step. Wow. Seconds. You know, but he was piecing all these pieces together of like, it could go that way. Let's go that way. Let's go. Now you've just cock blocked yourself in effect.
Yeah.
No.
Wow. God, it's so fascinating. You just be like, oh, you're not supposed to know. That worry just goes, I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to make myself a cuppa. It's just going to appear. Love it.
Yeah.
That is fascinating.
Like a lot of the time we're just blocking ourselves because we're trying, and again, mental pressure. We're trying so hard to find it when we're not supposed to find it for some of us.
You are fascinating. I'm like, I've got to book that bloody. I said ages ago, I was like, I'm going to definitely be that cool. And I just haven't.
They are good. I'm realizing like I have a skill.
Yes, yeah, but that's the thing, when you find like what you're really good at, it's your zone of genius, isn't it? And then you just sort of like magnify and amplifies and just helps with these people, because it's understanding yourself. And it's like you said right at the beginning, you know, society puts us in these boxes. And I know, like, from working in education and all the other things, just trying to, I was thinking, oh, I've got to be professional to be successful. I mean, I'm very professional, but now I'm creating a life I can just do whatever I want and help loads and loads of people do it. They'll do the same similar thing. Like you were saying about being a projector, I literally, all my teaching is, I needed help with this. I created this strategy formula. Here you go. Literally, like, I share everything. But I didn't think that that was because, you know, like, that links to being human, like, projector. And I do. So for people who are new to it, can we quickly run through the types, just because people might be like, oh, that sounds like me. I need to go and do a thing.
Yeah. So there's 5 types, and they have different kind of percentages of the population. So generators and manifesting generators are kind of one in the same, and the man-gen is the subtype. So this makes 70% of the population collectively. Now, generators and man-gens are like I call them like the worker bees, the builders. So this is why we have the 9 to 5. Right? Because 70% of the world, what makes a generator is a defined sacral, which is your energy center in the middle, right? So the spleen and then the sacral. The sacral is like a battery pack. It's your creativity, your life force. So if you're not, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong. But what you might find, and a lot of actually generators and man-gens are diagnosed like ADHD and stuff, because they're just all the time. And even me, you can feel that I've got a lot of energy. So I can go out and do 8-hour, 12-hour days, but only through my strategy of waiting to respond to the things that light my battery up. Right. So unless that sacral energy is available for it, I'm going to burn out because I'm using my battery on things that aren't for me, aka so many people out in the world that are doing things from the should, and they're burnt out, rather than when you're lit up, it doesn't feel like work. So for the generator, it's wait to respond, which is basically just, and it's not just sitting around and waiting either. It's, okay, the sun's shining, I want to go to the park. Now, your mind's going to tell you that's not productive, right? It's going to tell you need to sit down and do work, and that's how you get paid. But it's like, what if I went to the park and I had this amazing idea that then I got the sacral pulse to run home and do the damn thing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm sat in this funk and I'm just pushing and pushing and pushing. And this is a lot of generators experience burnout when they're in a, you know, conditioned kind of state.
Yeah.
Then we have the projector. So this is the wait for the invitation. These are like the world's guide, so 20%. So the projector's here to, like you said, experience, share their process, have people recognize them for their process. So again, it's not sat around like, where's my invitation? It's let me be in my craft, in my process, in my thing that I want to share with the world no matter what. If people recognize me, fine. If they don't, fine. I'm still doing this for me. But then when people come knocking on the door, it's like, oh, yeah, of course, like, here, have it. You know, which is kind of like what you're doing, right? Where it's like, this is my thing and I've just experienced it and I want to help people. So I can give it you because I made a tangible thing. So with the projectors, there is that kind of, you're a non-energy type, which means that you get your energy from the external. Now, if you're around the right people and doing the right thing, you will have energy available. But it's also not expecting yourself to be on par with the man-gens that are running around like on speed all day, because you're getting that energy from them. So it's better for you to delegate the tasks that you don't want to give your energy to, so that you can hone in on that craft.
Yeah, love that. And just quickly before you say the other ones, I talk about creating warrior energy, and I have a toolkit that every single day there's certain things I do that I know create energy for me. Would that be the same kind of thing? Because I'm doing that every day. Cool. Oh,
yeah, you're in alignment, baby.
Love it.
And then we've got like profiles as well, which again is deeper, of like, okay, this is our type, this is our profile, and that's what separates the types as well, of like how we navigate, how we can show up in the world. So then we've got the manifestor, which is 9%. So these guys are the initiators. So I always explain, it always stuck with me when I read it, of like, these were like the kings, the queens, the leaders of war.
Right.
If you want to put it into kind of weird perspective. Hitler was a manifester.
Okay,
So,
cool.
like, but these are like the initiators, these are the ones that can get these downloads and they don't need to wait for anything. They just put them in. They're the inventors. They bring new things in, in Hitler's sense, like he was like a demon,
Yeah,
but he
yeah.
still was able to master manipulate and have so much power. And it's the same with like, Troy, like leaders of war, like what it said back in the day was they didn't have to ask the gods for permission. They would just be able to,
Right.
So my partner's a manifestor and like, he just comes out with these things and I'm like, what the hell? But they have a very repelling aura because they basically have to protect themselves from the outside, like projection, right? So their strategy is to inform before they act, because if they don't, they drop this bomb and people are just like, what the hell is going on here? So it's like they're not asking permission, but they're saying, I'm about to create this thing. I'm about to make this big move. To everyone that's going to be involved, pre-warning, sweet, I'm going ahead with it now because I'm not going to meet resistance. So these are like the guys that download the ideas and then they share it with the world and then it gets took into action by us.
Wow. I wonder if Elon Musk is a manifestor. I bet he is.
Possibly. I think Obama is.
Is he?
Hitler, Obama. I want to say like, oh no, Nelson Mandela, I think is a projector. But yeah, like there are a few names where you're like, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
When I saw Hitler, I was like, that is it. Like, I can see it.
It's like Jedi. It's like the Force, isn't it? He went to the dark side. He could have done so much good with that.
It could have been great. It could have been like amazing, but he just fucked up.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is it. I mean, Obama changed a lot of things. He was, I think, first black.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't the first black. First black?
Yeah, the first black president. Yeah.
There we go, right? Invented the wheel, like really brought things into action. So yeah, this is the manifestor type. And then we've got the reflector, which is 1% of the population.
Whoa.
So yeah, these guys are like they have a completely open chart. So no centers defined, meaning they're open to conditioning all the time. So when they're unaware, they can feel very lost at the beginning because what they do is they sample energy. So if they're with you, they'll feel you, they'll bring in your energy, all of your energy. And if it sits well with them, they can keep parts and like kind of like build and like navigate. But if they're around the wrong people, they're going to be absorbing and they can feel very lost. But they're really good to have in like a work setting as somebody to go to, like a counsel almost, because they can sit and sample everyone and they can see the messages that people don't, because they can feel what other people don't. So a lot of these are intuits, clairvoyants, because they feel everything. So it gets to the point where they're able to really pierce the veil and pick up things. Like one of my friends is a reflector, and when I found out, I was like, of course, she's very clairvoyant. And she's had scenes where she's been back to like past lives and things. And Whoa. She was so lost for a while. But that's why.
God, that must be a bit draining. I mean, it's literally like the boy off of Sixth Sense then, isn't it? Because literally you're just coming around and everybody's talking to you and, well, not talking to you, but like you feel everything. Whoa.
Yeah. The way they make this, their strategy is to wait. Sorry if you can hear my psycho dog as well. He's an absolute nut job. They have to wait a 28-day cycle to make a decision. So they have to sample the decision's energy over a 28-day lunar cycle. Can you imagine?
God, like what, deciding for a month what you want for your dinner, that kind of thing.
I feel like it's more like big business stuff, but
of course. No, but one of my friends, like, he's a reflector, and when she was like, God, that makes a lot of sense, and I was like, yeah, it does. And actually, when we spoke about it, it is that kind of, sometimes she goes through these periods that she does feel really lost, like you said, but because she's been aware of human design, she's more. Before she was aware, it was much more difficult for her, but now she's sort of honing her practice and realizing, actually, I need to do this. She's got a little strategy now for it.
Yeah. I mean, this is another thing that human design says. It gives you the permission to be you. So, if we did a reading, a lot of the things that I'm going to say to you, you're probably going to be like, I already knew that. But it's more of a permission of like, oh fuck, like I already knew that. And bro, I already knew that. He's honestly a nightmare. Like anyone walks past the gate, he's like, yo. So it's that permission of, oh, maybe I was actually conditioning myself away from that and thought that that was like something that was wrong with me. And now I'm realizing it's my superpower.
Yeah. Oh, God, so you basically unleash people's superpowers.
Yeah, like guiding you back to your uniqueness. Like with my one-to-one clients as well, like a lot, they have their reading and then we go into like, whatever they're working on, but a lot of the time I redirect them back. Like I had one client projector and she was struggling and she was like, I'm so bitter, which is your not self theme of like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, like why? And I was like, well, you do have the channel of struggle in your chart, which is the warrior spirit. So with the warrior, they have to go through battle to emerge and succeed. So not that your life is going to be one big battle, but it is a theme for you. And then you can guide other people through battle because you are experienced, right? That's why you're the warrior. So then we kept reminding her of this. And then it was mental. She stayed resilient. She stayed the warrior. Overnight, blew up on TikTok. 1,200 people in the Facebook group, all aligned to her craft, which is feminine leadership. And now she's just booked out a retreat in like a month.
Gosh, she's smashing it. And that's all she did. Oh, I feel like I want to be that girl now.
Like, yeah, it was like, just keep going, keep on at your craft. Like, don't give up.
Yes.
And it was like, because it's your craft for a reason. It's your thing for a reason.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Bethany, This has been amazing. I ask everybody before we go a question about basically just reflection, really. If there was something that you wish you'd known 10 years ago that you know now, what would that be?
Oh God, I'm just trying to work out how old I was. 18. Oh my goodness. Probably, 18, I was going to university. So I would probably have told myself like, yo, this is all conditioning and like, you don't really want to go and you don't need to go, because that was the only reason I went to university. It was like, this is the path that I should, and I should study this. So I would have told her, like, if it's not lighting you up, babe, like you don't need to do it, but also like, you'll be led to where you need to be.
Oh, I love that. It really is. If everyone had the permission to just go, does that light you up? No, don't do it. But it's so scary for so many people, isn't it? It is really, and like you say, it is conditioning. But when you get to the other side and it's like, it's just when you do something that you were born to do. And I always think about my life, literally every single step has got me to this point where I'm teaching other business owners what I know. Like I wouldn't have been as good at it unless I'd been in education to learn how to really teach. It's like all these, I love it.
So true. All of these puzzle pieces that you think, what, but they're all like so valid. And then you hit where you're meant to be. And like, even now, like, you don't know what the next 5 years is going to look like, but it's fine because these are the stepping stones and it's always full circle.
Amazing. Oh, Bethany, you've been lush. And I feel like my battery's charged now. I've got loads of energy.
Yay!
Brilliant.
Yeah, everybody's always like, I'm buzzing. I'm like, great. Yeah. So much.
Oh, thank you. Right. So where can people find you?
Instagram's the best bet. I am on Facebook and stuff, but Instagram's my main platform. So if they do want to tune into that intro workshop, you can just go on my bio. I always say, like, in terms of links and stuff, just like click on, see what you're pulled to. But I do have the free chart and I do have the free intro. And then that'll give you like tasters and stuff.
Yeah. And the free chart is really good. I've done it. And then you can book on for a more in-depth one, which I am going to do. But everyone, but I'll put all the links in the show notes. Thanks so much, babe. It's been an absolute pleasure. See you later.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the No Rest for the Vivid podcast, written, produced and hosted by Claire Hill, and music has been composed by my brother Phil Vick.